Order at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, October 21st. Pledge of Allegiance. Ready?
Sure.
Allegiance.
Yeah. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, just to let everyone know, Joe notified us he won't be able to make the meeting tonight. Still, he's got sickness in the family. Our first order of business was select board presentation, and we're not ready to do that. So why don't we jump down and review and approve the minutes of the previous meeting last week on October 14th. Somebody want to make a motion, or do you want me to do it?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of October 14th, 2025.
Second.
I'll second.
Motion by Les, seconded by Scott. Comments? I have a comment, but I'll go first. In the section on Grafton County Senior Citizen Council, when it listed people that were there, it left out Gail Emmons Shaw. So she is our local director, and she's not listed. She should be in there. She was here.
There's a few names that were on that section that are spelled wrong too. It was Rosa Ackerley.
Okay.
Akerly.
Okay.
And Louise Lacasse is Louisv.
Thank you. So that was it for me. I have
one name change.
Sure, go ahead.
I like the name Paul, but my name is Brian.
Oh, we
Oh,
were
in the
just
section
gonna
called
call
the Rocket Call to All?
Paul, yeah,
Oh, at the beginning?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, no.
I missed that. I didn't catch
I can see
that.
that there's one's here too.
There's boys ones here too.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there's one.
So we got some name changes. Brian in the list of committee members. Add Gail and correct spelling on Rosa and Louise, all in the senior citizen. Anyone else have a comment? Buzz?
First of all, I went through the emails this morning. I never saw the minutes distributed. Were they distributed?
Yes.
Oh, I couldn't find them, so I read them, got here early and read them, but I do have some comments.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard for me to identify them.
Do you want to do them now, or do you want to just have us, we'll reopen it next meeting and you can come prepared?
That might be easier because
Okay. They were attached to an email, I don't remember which one, but they were
I thought I
distributed.
went through all the attachments, but
Okay.
I didn't see them.
Okay.
My apologies.
It would have been from Shannon.
Yeah, no, I went through all of those.
Yeah. So I'll make a comment for the record, actually, for Shannon, when she writes the minutes, let's add reopening, considering the minutes of the 14th, next meeting's agenda. Okay, any other comments? So I'm not sure procedurally, should we table the motion since we know we're going to talk about it next meeting, or should we vote on it and then just reopen it next? So we'll table the motion. So I'll make a motion to table the motion. Is that how that works?
Yep, sure.
Second.
So motion by Paul, seconded by Buzz, to table consideration of the minutes from the 14th. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Nays or abstentions? No, passes 6-0. So, we'll still wait because Don's going to do both select board and capital improvements.
Can I,
Can you what?
make a correction on a name, but we'll wait.
Sure. Sure.
At the, I don't know what page it is, but next to the last page, the
Yeah.
Voices Against Violence,
Yeah.
it should be Gowan, Marcy, I think it's an I, and it's Gowan, Gowen, dash Nobly, Nobly, I think.
I think that that's great. Could I ask you actually to send it by email to Shannon, and that way we're sure she's got the correct spelling?
Yeah.
She doesn't have to, because we should have it in their packets.
Okay,
Oh, they'll just take it from their packets.
okay, so, never mind, thanks anyway. All right. I guess we'll just try to keep moving here. So the next item on the agenda, skipping our main business, is correspondence. The only correspondence I saw was that there was a response from Lakes Region Mental Health to Sue's question about billing and costs. Was that sent to everyone or just to Sue and I?
That was sent to everybody.
it was So everyone saw it?
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone saw it, so we don't really need to.
It wasn't the full answer though, because we'd asked.
No, he sent them
You
the
just started.
next
I was going
Okay.
to it.
day. So you may not have gotten your
Still
additional
can.
question Shannon sent.
Shannon had, yeah, so
Yeah.
Shannon had asked me what it was I had said, and I went, oh,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was that, so I stopped by here. And I talked to her about it, and she said, okay, I'll actually resubmit that, so you're
Yeah.
right, you probably didn't get it.
He probably, so, we can have Shannon definitely follow up, but he sent that like the next day after your meeting, and I just
Oh.
waited till I was sending your
Oh.
packet up to you.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we'll go back to the new business section. Our main purpose here tonight is to hear from the select board and the CIP committee. Mr. Milbrand, would you like to take the hot seat?
Sure.
There, you can use my copy.
Thank you.
CIP, I'll have to put on the screen for you.
That'll work. Thank you. All right, good evening.
Good evening, thank you for coming, and
Sorry I'm a little late. There's 4 skeletons from my closet rattling today at work.
I was gonna say, you always have too many things to do in one time.
Yeah, 4 old projects, somehow people dug my name up.
All right.
All
So
right.
I think we're looking to do the same thing. Rather than start with questions, we can start with just opening it up to your presentation and what you have to share with us, and then if we have any questions, we'll ask, but.
Let's see, the short version, we want to spend more money. Thank you very much. Actually, it's more like, as much as you don't want to spend more money, you end up having to every year. It's just the way the world is right now. The goals that the select board set for themselves when we started out the budget process this year were mainly around employee retention. Part of that, of course, is a large part of that is salary. So the major increase that you'll see in the budget is on the salary lines. The decision, we went back and forth. It was quite a discussion on do we give them step increases? Do we do just a COLA across the board? Pros and cons of all that. We ended up going the COLA route this year just so that we can keep our salary schedule up with the current times. Everybody knows it's not inflation like we've had the last couple of years, but it's still out there. So we don't want to get behind like we did before and have to do 6% for 2 years in a row, which really hurts. So we decided on a 4% cost of living added to the salary scale, which brings everything up and everybody up on that. There's 1 or 2 positions that you'll see that are adjusted for new hires, things like that. Probably one of the biggest ones on that is the 4 new hires in the fire department. Those, remember, have offsetting revenues. It was a little bit tricky. I think we got it straightened out because of funding it for half a year this year as a warrant article, and then next year it'll be the full. So the percentage increases were screwy, but Christina is the we in this statement. Went with DRA and found out how to get it actually into the budget correctly, so you will see that. Yeah. Insurance, Oh, yeah, insurance is up 20%? Yeah, thank you.
Those are some.
Oh, there we go. That's the ones.
I don't know what that.
Yeah, Yeah,
Those aren't all,
which doesn't start until mid-year, so we budgeted at 10.3.
10.3, yeah, it's actually a 20.6 annual, but
The
it goes by
insurance year is
fiscal.
July 1st.
It's July 1st, so. Time to put a plug in for getting the town on a fiscal year instead of a calendar year, but I need to do some homework on that, that's my fault. With the employee retention thought on that, we did discuss very briefly about, do we increase the amount that the employees pay in to offset the costs? But we decided that retention of employees is a lot cheaper than what we would recover from, taking them up and making them pay 25% of the.
Just to
Of healthcare.
clarify, do we charge them a percentage of the cost, or do we
Yeah,
charge them
they
a flat
pay-
fee, or what do we charge?
They
them?
pay 12%.
12%.
Yeah.
So their costs will go up, but our costs will
Yeah.
go up.
Well, yeah, they're the 12%, whatever that number is, came out of their paycheck. That number will go up 20% as well.
Yeah.
The company I work for, we pay 25%, so typically the amount municipalities charge is less because they're also given less salary. What else? Yes, some other stuff.
I just mean this, but you don't have to touch.
Yeah,
this.
there's nothing really blaring out on this. So that's the main thing. The salary and healthcare are the biggest increases. Like I said, we also added the firefighters, EMTs, but those will see offsetting revenues.
If you back, the thing we were talking about the other night, and a good talking point for town meeting was, if you back out everything associated with those 4 positions, which are entirely offset by income, the budget increase was,
I think Rob said 3%, but it could
it
raise
was
around 3%.
just
it was 3 point something, it was a
Yeah.
little under 4.
Say 3.5%.
Yeah, it shows up over 6% here, but taking that into account. Trying to see.
Christina, were you able to add the asterisks?
Yes, there's a sample of it, well, and I will have to manually add it when we're done, but this is just to show people what it will look like. There were about 5 or 6 lines, so there's asterisks, you'll see them on the side here, and then the comment, says, no, new line item shows 0% change because there is no prior year value for comparison. This is a system limitation and does not reflect actual change. Can't read with glasses on that close. If you want the wording to say anything different, I can change it, but that's what I put on there for now. There are about, the 4 firefighter lines are okay. There were about 5 or 6 lines that have that, but it was much smaller than it has been in the last couple of years, so. There's one in planning board, one in highway department, one in transfer station. It may only be those, I'll double check, so it may only be 3.
It's just a few.
There's a very small
Tax
amount.
maps.
Oh, yes,
Tax map.
sorry,
Yep.
there's 2 in transfer station, there's 1 in tax maps, 1 in highway, and then 1 in planning board, so. But I did put them all in, so you would see what they look like. It will not be in there when you're reviewing your individual budgets, but we'll make sure it's back in there again, at the end when we're done, so. Because I have to manually manipulate them, so.
Yeah, the bottom line without water and sewer shows 6.8% increase, which, like we said, is closer to 4,
A little under 4.
a little under 4, when you back out the additional revenues that
That
are
makes,
coming in.
okay.
Okay. Questions?
Well, I have some, but I guess I wanted to see what other people had to say first. This is, at this point, I was not personally interested in getting into like individual lines and talking about that. I really was thinking this will be a more of a broader, higher level discussion. But
And by all rights, the individual department heads should,
right, we
should
will go
field
the
questions about
individual with the
specifics.
detail with the department heads and talk,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, it'd be a disservice for Sean and I to, and Scott to speak on that.
Can I just add something?
sure.
So comments were put on for anything that went up over 3% or under 3%, like
Mhm.
we talked about. If the select board had adjusted it, those comments were added, and whether it was the 14th or the 16th, and they were added, those comments as well, so you'll be able to see why there was a difference, that the board adjusted it, so.
We did make some minor adjustments from the department head recommendations, a couple in the outside services, and couple in the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but nothing too major. Of course, we did a lot of that work beforehand with the department heads, but they were presenting.
And the emphasis was on what do we need,
Yeah.
to budget.
That's
And
it.
there's, I don't know of any real wants that we, nice to haves, anything like that. I don't see any of them in there.
Okay.
It's,
So I think my question would be, that's what I had heard, was that the goal of the select board and the instructions to the department heads is basically to differentiate between wants and needs, focus on needs and put them into the budget, and identify wants and don't put it in the budget. I don't know if you can answer this, but do you think the select board is happy with this? If we don't make any, if we weren't to make any changes, would that be good, or are you looking for us potentially to find ways to make
We're
further
looking for you to be the
reductions?
bad guys.
Yeah, I just want to kind of get a feel for what you're looking for.
I'd like to know, do you still beat your wife? Talk about a loaded question. Go ahead.
I'd like to say it's pretty bare bones budget. It's
Yeah.
pretty level funded. We minimize some things, just going off the history and last year's expenditures, actuals.
Yeah, when you look at, I think it's telling that,
Excuse me.
when you look at what we removed from the department head recommendations, and across the full budget was
Well, yeah, it was,
50, maybe 40.
not quite 100.
Yeah, it was almost
Okay, so it was a little
yeah.
bit more.
Yeah.
But of course, that's on a, rather large budget, but, so I think that speaks well to our department heads.
Mhm.
We're trying the best we can. We like to think that we're good stewards of the funds that are entrusted to us to manage and operate the town. There are some things I feel we're not spending enough on. You can look at the highway paving, what we called paving historically, we're now calling highway
Projects.
road projects,
Actually, we changed,
to be more inclusive of things like drainage work and ditch line work and infrastructure. We've been spending the same $300,000 on that we have for the last dozen years.
Mhm.
There's been no increase in that.
we changed it to highway projects.
So-
and then-
I think that number should be higher, but that's where we're at. We're gonna do the best we can with that number. We've done things internally, like started a road working group to talk about focusing that money where it's best useful. I'm speaking entirely for myself, but historically, we've been on we need to pave every paved road every 10 years to stay on track. And the simple fact is not every road needs to be paved every 10 years. And some of the roads we put pavement on really need to be started over from the ground up with better culverts and better ditch lines and all of that. So We've focused some efforts on that, so we're really trying to be, things like that, I think, speak towards how we're trying to manage those monies the best way possible.
Okay.
And I, sort of, to answer your question in a
What's
roundabout
Don
way,
think?
is I describe to people from other towns how Bristol is not your typical, we've gotten out of the typical government way of budgeting where the department head pads his number 20% because when it goes to the select board, they're gonna cut 10% because that's their job to do, is cut. And the budget committee, it's their job to cut, so they cut another 10%, and then he gets what he wanted. It's taken years, but Bristol has gotten around to the point where department heads know that they don't have to do that, and that both the select board and the budget committees have looked at it with a good eye, not just saying, well, we got to cut because that's what our job is.
And I think your committee has seen that in the past when you hear comments like, I don't know what to cut. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like we should be cutting something, but we're not cutting something. You know, I guess you can have the argument of whether we should be doing, you know, particular services or not doing particular services, but if we're going to do particular services, then there's a cost to that. And historically, those services have been supported by, even in lean years, supported by the voters.
Yeah, and in that, both the select board and, the select board's job is to put together a budget they feel is what will run the town in a certain fashion with these points. And the budget committee's job is to look at that and say, okay, does this look good or not? Is it correct? You know, make adjustments where you see it may be out of line, which means adding or subtracting in different areas. That your job isn't just a cut, and it may feel like you're redundant or just a rubber stamp if the select board does a good job. But it's not that. It's another set of eyes on this, looking at it and making sure that it's correct.
I appreciate that. I
And
agree with
I
what you're
appreciate
saying,
you guys
because
doing
you're
it.
right, we're gonna meet with the department heads, go through line by line. I
Yeah.
sat through your meeting on the 14th, and you guys did a lot of work, but you didn't try to go line by line.
No.
You were a little higher level
Right.
on that.
Yeah,
So, just to feedback, you didn't quite say it this way, but what I heard you say is that, of course, as taxpayers, you'd love for us to find ways to reduce the budget, but you think that probably at this point, we're gonna be cutting muscle, not fat. And I think I agree with you that if we say we want to make major cuts, we have to have discussions about what services we're going to discontinue, because
Right.
there's not padding in here that we can just easily remove.
right.
And that's typically not the budget committee's job to make policy decisions on what services the town does, so we
Yeah.
don't usually do that.
Yeah.
We're not planning to do that, but
But we did the homework. You're the teachers that are correcting it, if you want to look at it that way. You know,
Yeah.
it's like go through and make sure it's like, well, no, you goofed here. You know.
You know, in the end, the voters decide yes or no,
That's true.
right? And there have been years past few years where there hasn't been much discussion. There's been years when we've had really significant cuts where we had to go back and figure out where not to spend a couple $100,000 or a few $100,000 that was suddenly not there. It was a couple $100,000 on a much lower budget.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Back in the day, but, and you know, I guess I'll quote Ned and say, you know, the town voters always make the right choice, you know, whatever choice.
That's
By
true.
definition.
By definition, because they voted on it, so, you know, I think overall, you know, I think we feel this budget adequately represents what we need to run this town for the next year in the manner we've been running.
Yeah, at the level we are now.
Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I'm talking too much about any other committee members have a comment?
Yes.
Please.
I have several questions just to sort of get a
Sure.
better understanding.
Let's see what
but I
happens.
wanna-
Go ahead, give it a try.
Easy one. Who's the insurance carrier?
Which one?
What
For the
insurance?
health
For health insurance?
Health trust.
Oh, health trust, okay. You had mentioned before, you had touched on the revenues a little bit. Is the board aware of any significant potential changes in either direction on revenues that would support the general budgets?
Well, the one that we know about is, we do expect the towns that contract ambulance service. The chief has done the work and they've said that,
That's increasing significantly.
yeah, that's an increase, that's a significant increase in the
And that's-
revenue.
But it's
But-
not for the general budget, it's earmarked
Yeah.
for the
Right.
ad staff.
Yeah,
Right.
and on the flip side, maybe one or two of the towns vote down on that too. So it's not expected, but it's a possibility that we have to be aware of.
If I can just follow on,
Mhm,
for
yeah.
example, the highway block grant, is that just sort of flat? Is that what you're expecting?
It pretty much stayed the same. We get
Yeah.
2 small payments and then, at the end of the year, and then we get 2 larger payments at the first 2 quarters of the year. So we just got a $30,000 payment. It ends up being about 90,000 roughly, so
Big,
it stayed
yeah.
the same.
A big variable is registrations.
Yeah.
That's one of our biggest revenue
Yeah.
generation.
Yeah, one of the good stabilizing things is we're in the middle of the state budget year, so it should be pretty much consistent from year to year
That's true.
in that respect.
The current fund balance, the undesignated fund balance that
Mhm.
the town has, when the budget year ends, do you expect that to increase? And if so, Christina, do you have any sense on
We
what?
just talked about that, the other night. All we can say is historically, it's averaged 80 to 100.
It's, maybe 150,000 we
Yeah.
got back last year, if that.
Yeah, it's, when you
Yeah.
look at that over a $8 million budget, that's not a lot.
Yeah.
So that would be 150 on top of the current
Well, it
balance?
depends too, what the board, if the board decides to use anything at the tax
To offset
rate
the
setting,
tax rate.
Yeah,
that could affect it. And we're still waiting for a final audit to be finished for '24, so.
yeah, and we also had as far as unreserved fund balance, we had the sale of the fire department, of the fire building, which will go to,
Correct.
that'll actually increase it.
We used a big chunk though.
Well, we anticipated using,
Yeah,
We used a huge chunk last year to
Yeah.
reduce.
not enough, but that's all
Yeah, I
right.
know.
yeah.
To reduce the tax
Which-
rate.
Last year, we applied more from the unreserved fund balance towards taxes in anticipation of it selling, so, I mean, we didn't, we borrowed from that knowing that it was gonna be filled back in.
Right, just in general terms, the current balance, $1 million, $1.5 million?
I'm not sure
No,
where
we're
are we?
under $1 million.
Under-
Yeah.
When we set the tax rate, we were 600,000, does that sound right? And I don't have that folder down here, I'm sorry, but I think it was around 600,000 left when we set the tax rate.
After
We're supposed to try to carry up to 2 months' worth of your budget.
That's a recommendation.
That's a
by the
recommendation.
state. There's no, some towns don't carry a reserve at all.
Yeah, they go zero,
Bridgewater.
yeah.
But it's a recommendation by the state. It's kind of like,
Yeah,
you can only go to that well so
Sure.
often.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So they recommend anywhere between 5 and 17% is
Right.
kept in the fund, so we're closer to the 5%. So.
And on that, there's only 2 times that I understand when the select board can take any money from that. One is the setting of the tax rate,
Right.
and the other is a declared emergency.
Yeah.
Sure.
Other than that, it has to be approved by the voters, and that's why you'll see like warrant articles would say to be taken from the unexpended fund balance.
Just two more.
Oh, sure.
Generally.
This is actually fun.
With, you know, with the huge change of revaluation because of the state law of every 5 years,
Right.
and I recognize, you know, DRA has to set the tax rate and the whole thing. Do you have any sense when that may occur in terms of the tax rate being set with the new values?
Yeah, there's a couple of things we're waiting on from the state and the school district.
The school
Nick?
district still has to file one thing. We're waiting for finalization still from the assessing firm, which
Yeah.
we anticipate we're gonna have the final values hopefully end of next week. We are also plugging in our revenues, and reconciling revenues right now, because we did have a open position for a few months. So, we're hoping by the middle of November that we will be in the queue to set the tax rate, so.
In a vacuum, it's strictly a math equation.
I understand.
Right.
Right.
Of course, individual numbers will vary, but, right. I mean, in essence, you look to be about half of what it is right now.
Final question, this is just from the recent article in the paper. Will the Board of Selectmen be chiming in on the potential sale of a property that's worth 1.1 million that's on the tax rolls now that potentially could come off of the tax rolls? Will the Board of Selectmen be talking about that and taking a position?
I think you did already when you met with the superintendent at the
Yeah, I
last
mean, we
meeting.
haven't had a formal press release, I guess. But,
Yeah.
We did have a conversation the other night with the
New
superintendent
superintendent.
of schools, and it was a very good conversation. It wasn't just about that, but basically an update on where they're at and how they're doing, and the relationship between the towns and the school district. And I think you heard pretty loud and clear that we weren't fans of the proposal. However, having said that, other than our individual votes, we didn't.
Understand.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of rare that the board here will take stands and make, statements as a board on something like that. It's related to us, but not so hard directly related that
Right.
we'll put up a position for the board.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
and it's not,
Yeah,
there's some nuances to that answer I gave
Yeah.
you, there's,
yeah. There's probably consensus on the board if we wanted to put
there's a
something.
couple of us that, could possibly support it if given enough reason, but
Yeah,
don't like it at all.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and I just from looking from the outside, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
The public is influenced by leadership.
Yep.
So
Mhm.
that's.
Great question, by
Yeah.
the way, I really like it.
Actually, one of the things I found encouraging that the superintendent said is that I asked him directly, I said, are you looking at a contingency if the voters vote down your plan to buy this? And he is, because the plan is to build another wing onto the high school. I was like, if you're gonna build another wing, why don't you have them make plans for administrative office there? And they are thinking ahead like that. And that was encouraging to know.
They've hired a company to review all of that and provide recommendations.
Right. And different cost alternatives.
Right, and that's exactly what they have in Winnisquam.
Hmm.
They've got the whole SAU office right attached to the high school.
Yeah, which actually makes sense.
It
Yeah.
does. Thank you.
Go
One
ahead.
other note, back to your other question, was there is a change in the law and the billing for ambulance, EMT service and such, so that may affect our revenue slightly on that portion.
Yeah, we don't know what the impact will be yet. We're just waiting to see what happens, so
But we're not anticipating any huge.
hope,
Any huge swings either way.
Mm.
But it's out of our control.
Such is life.
But we also did ask Ben to make sure we got the math around how the contract is covering the 4 positions at the town, right? So regardless of that, I know he'll be pulling all that together.
Even before, I kudos to the chief,
Yeah.
even before the warrant article last year for the new positions, the last 5 years before that had seen a significant increase in the amounts billed to those towns based on adding things like capital purchase costs and stuff that hadn't been entirely accounted for previously, where it was a percentage of capital purchase. Now it's pretty much full coverage, and it also allows us to have an extra vehicle available at times. So kudos to the chief. He's run that contract system very well. He's run the department very well, but run that contract system very well. And I think if you look at the numbers, you'd see that we do better by those contracts than we had, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Anything on this side of the room? Comment? Don't have to ask a question.
I'm really impressed with legal. This is like
Well,
a couple of years in a row, potentially.
yeah.
It was, yeah, knock on wood.
It's, yeah, I mean, it's nice to have quiet years, I guess.
Just that
You're all
word.
chasing us.
As soon as you say something.
But the biggest liability there is some enforcement stuff. And unfortunately, that's a very long process, a very costly process, but it is something that townspeople have told us that they want us to do, so
Yeah.
we've been trying to do a lot more of that.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's no northern pass or anything like that that's being a
Yeah.
pain. Yeah.
Wendy Ridge.
Do you have anything you want to
Well,
say?
it may have been asked, I'll ask it more specifically, given everything that's gone on in Washington in the last 6 months, are there any recurring grants or other forms of federal assistance that have become unavailable or been delayed that would impact the town?
It will be delayed depending on how long the shutdown lasts. Our EPA funding on the water and sewer project. But we also have USDA funding with that as well. And we have a bond anticipation note with that as well. So I don't know how it would affect the project yet. So we've received notification that they will be short-staffed, if at all
Yeah.
staffed, and doing furloughs, so.
I think the only other liability we have there is on the pretty small side with the Army Corps payments.
We already got the flood reimbursement.
Good.
We got that already, I was just trying to get, Ruby and I have been working on revenue, so I've been getting her
Yeah.
as much information as I can.
Overall, we don't get a lot of federal money, so.
So EPA and CDBG may have some delays in payment. We won't lose it, but there will be delays depending on how long the shutdown goes, so.
But just to clarify, that's for the special sewer project, that's
That's-
not for ongoing
that's sewer.
operations.
Right.
Well, it's 50% tax, 50% water and sewer, so, yeah, but yes, that's a special project. Ongoing operations, I don't think so. Meals and rooms, maybe, it depends on how the state gets affected by the shutdown.
Yeah.
But
That doesn't seem, that won't really change the timeline of the sewer project.
no,
Right?
no, it won't
So
change.
the line item for, because basically what you'll see is the line item for interest for the bond anticipation note. So So that shouldn't increase because of that.
No, we just won't have the offsetting revenue immediately,
Correct.
but we should be good, so.
Is there any potential revenue that could come in from the sale of any of these empty buildings that are around Bristol? Not just like Rite Aid and,
We don't own any of these.
you don't own
buildings, so-
any of those buildings?
Mm.
No.
Oh, that's good to know.
We have a couple,
Yeah.
we have one property we're looking at as soon as I can get through the process and locate the owner. But that might be the only thing that we have to sell.
Yeah,
for
we've looked at that list fairly regularly over the last few years. And
Yeah.
if you look at I think actually it's listed in the town report, we have to list
Yes,
that, but
yeah.
there's a list of town-owned properties,
Okay.
and almost all of them are, you know, an unbuildable lot that a developer gave to the town, an eighth of an acre in front of Warfield Circle that, you know, you
Yeah.
can't do anything with.
Yeah. We thought picnic
Bennett.
table.
The Bennett wetland, you know, all these little things. We've done pretty well in the properties that we've had to take, in getting those back, or of course with the fire station, but getting those properties back on in the last couple of years. I think there's been 2 or 3 that,
Well, we sold 2 this year, counting the fire station.
fire station, right, Spring Street,
Oh.
Merrimack Street, and there was one a couple of years ago, so,
Yeah.
we don't wanna hold those properties,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the only one that we might be able to sell next year is another tax deeded property.
Yeah,
But,
there's a lot around how the town comes into possession of the properties
Mhm.
in the time frame that you can dispose of them.
yeah.
Isn't there, like, I'm not sure if the house is empty, but by Gilly's restaurant, isn't there like a big house right there that's?
They own it.
That's all.
They
It's
are.
in his own and someone lives there?
It's owned
No.
by Gillies.
Hughes owns it.
Oh, I've never seen anybody,
No, they don't.
They don't have
they don't
to
live,
have-
No, that one's empty.
That
It's
was
empty.
empty,
Okay.
yeah. But Gillies owns it.
but Gilly's
so,
owns it, okay.
But I think you're asking about revenues. I think
Yeah.
one of the things
Yeah.
that we're working on is short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know what that really is yet, so we still have to finish that process.
Mhm.
But, you know, I think we're striving to get that done as soon as possible, so that way really, as we go into next year, we got that at least in place.
Yeah.
The baseline is there now it's a matter of us figuring out, okay, what are the fees, how do we actually do with those pieces, so that'll come into play. But that'll be from my perspective, a pretty good offset for the changes that we made to the certificate of zoning compliance stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Right, because we changed the values to make sure, from a planning board perspective, we changed it to keep current. But to me, when you look at our community and you look at other communities that are the lakeside like us, a pretty good amount of them all have a short-term rental fee structure. Because that has seriously impacted our property values in town,
Yeah.
right? So how do we make sure that we're staying current in that way too? But that won't be represented anyway yet.
Even though buildings are empty, there's no exemption for property taxes, so, things like the bank property or the former Rite Aid, you know, they're still responsible for paying those taxes. Now, if they went years without paying those taxes, yes, the town could take those properties, but it's usually a last resort. You know,
Yeah.
we don't want to take anyone's property at all, but, and then even then, you still have, you know, some requirements to pay back, you know, you sell it and
Yeah, the town can't make money on
get a
properties.
profit off.
Yeah.
Right, our Merrimack Street property, the bid that came in was for more than we could keep, so we had to cut a check to the former owners
Yeah.
and give them over and above what we were allowed to keep, so.
The idea is to get them back on the
On
rolls.
tax rolls, yeah.
As soon as
Yeah.
possible.
Yep.
Anything else? Thank you.
Vicious crowd.
Yeah.
You're up.
So now we'll talk about CIP.
Move over to CIP. All right.
I don't have a printout, John, but I can put it up on the screen.
Okay.
Well, maybe,
I should have drove.
I can't print it downstairs though, because the copier, the new copier.
Want me to drop you
No,
off?
I'm
So,
good.
sorry.
New copy is broken.
Yeah, so the new copier's broken, and if they can't fix it by the end of the week, we
We'll
get a new one.
copy.
We get a lemon
A new.
replacement.
Just a quick overview for people that may not know what the CIP committee is. The CIP committee is a subcommittee of the planning board. It's actually regulated by our RSA. I don't remember chapter and verse, sorry. But what it does is it takes a look at long-term capital expenditure for the town and makes a plan to try to even out those expenditures so you're not seeing spikes up and down of the tax rate because of that. You know, so you're not buying a fire truck and 3 highway trucks one year and then nothing for 2 years and then, 5 police cruisers and your taxes are bouncing all over. The goal is to spread all that out so that your capital expenditures are as even as possible on the tax rate. So that said, there's 5 people. I think we're 6 now because we did gain one. The definition that we came up with long ago for capital expenditure is anything that is over $10,000 and lasts more than 3 years. So typically the things that are looked at are vehicles, especially for all the departments. Certain tools and things like that get expensive. Radios for fire and police, those kind of items. So it's pretty mature. It's probably been around a dozen years or so. This year, a lot of the talk around it was, and actually last year and this year, we looked at and grilled the department heads pretty well, and they came through with some better estimates of future numbers because it's hard to predict, obviously, and recently with inflation bouncing around all over the place, we've increased the numbers going out into the future and adjusted some lifespans, things like that. That's the how much specifics. The way the spreadsheet's laid out, it has the expenditures on the top. Then there's a portion for revenues, and there's also a debt portion. That any long-term debt that the town has is also accounted in as a capital expenditure, because a lot of those were for capital equipment anyhow. If you see on your sheet, the bottom line, probably next to the bottom line, is the tax impact for what we've planned out over the course of the years, and that is based on a 5% increase, I believe, on the valuation. And you'll see that it's actually pretty level in the current plan. It took a lot to get there, but we got there. One thing I will say that because of the valuation this year, the revaluation this year, that bottom number will obviously have to change. With that is the old valuation, not the new. I was thinking about that actually earlier today as to if there's a way that the committee could meet one more time and put the new valuation in, or at least an approximate before, or somehow if we could get it approved for the new valuation for the town report. So we may have to talk about that.
I was to say, I think the only thing you might have to do is just present it back to the planning board again.
Yeah,
Because technically they're the official ones who have to approve it.
that's true. All right, so that's CIP in a nutshell.
So I'll just point out, from my point of view, Buzz and I are on this
Yeah.
committee, so we're involved in creating this, but this doesn't, in my view, really affect what we're doing on the budget committee because these numbers don't go into the operating budget.
Correct.
These numbers really are used by the select board to create the warrant where we propose to raise and appropriate in order to make contributions to different capital reserve funds.
Yep.
So it's important information and it's stuff we want to know because it's financial, but
Right.
it's not really a budget item.
Right. The two things that I would,
Until next year.
yeah,
Correct. Like, have to fund-
yeah. The two things that I would say to the budget committee, two takeaways from this is, one, you will, at the end of this process, the budget committee has to vote also on the warrant articles. So the numbers that we're suggesting to put into different capital reserves will come across your table in that respect. The other is, when you're looking at what we're spending on the general budget, be aware also that there are other warrant articles, and these are monies that also have to be spent for the entire picture, rather than, you know, the operating budget is probably one of the large ones, but it's not the only monies that are be spent, so.
So probably indirectly, Paul, some of the things I think about when I look at this is the maintenance line items in the budget and how they relate to when something needs to be replaced, right? Because you can see it obviously creeping up on something that's older, and you kind of look at the CIP to go, all right, when are we planning on this thing, right? Because the departments, I think, have done a pretty good job of going, hey, we think we have an opportunity to replace this thing, it might be a year early out of this fund, but we're doing it to save on the other side, right? So just, that may be.
Definitely, yeah, no, I didn't mean to say that I don't care and this isn't important.
Yeah, no,
I just
sure.
was saying that when we sit down at the department and go line by line, this isn't actually a set of lines we go over, and
Correct.
we're not.
Correct.
It's important to the town, it's important to all of us because it affects our taxes, but it's not something we're gonna dive into to go through line by line as a budget
Right.
committee is what I was trying to say, so.
Yep,
maybe didn't say it
exactly.
quite right.
So, keying in on the other topic of warrants,
Yeah,
there's only one project that comes to mind, right? And that's the culvert project that we're looking at putting together a warrant, correct? Is that?
That's all we've talked about.
That's all
Yeah,
we've
so
talked about.
as of right now, so just so we're not planning any like $1 million projects, just so you guys are aware of that.
I know it's not, I don't know what the number is, and it's not gonna be $1 million, but we did come in and talk, as representative of the library, we came in and talked to you and said that the library building needs some maintenance, and you guys did agree the library's putting together a proposal for that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it was around 25,000. The fireworks warrant article, the contingency fund, and then capital reserves, and then it will, the only other thing was, we're changing veterans credit, or recommending to change a veterans credit.
Yeah.
So,
Higher
because
or
of the
lower?
law change, but,
Higher or lower?
there's a law change that's taking, if you received a standard veterans and a disabled veterans, you can only get one of them. So we're increasing one because we wanted to make it so that
Neutral.
people who are gonna, we wanna make it neutral, that's the word.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Trying to make it cost neutral.
because those people are going to lose those credits effective next year, so.
Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
Just to go back to debt service for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Is the existing debt service being financed by a single or multiple financial institutions?
Multiple.
Multiple, yeah. Yeah, every project goes out for its own financing.
There's
So
some with the
different
bond bank,
banks.
there are some with regular Franklin Savings Bank, there's some with Camden Financial.
Okay.
Yeah, Northway.
And so the
Yeah.
selectmen have the authority to shop that around in essence.
Mhm.
Sure.
And I can remember various projects where, like Christina mentioned, sometimes it's more advantageous to go to the New Hampshire Bond Bank. Sometimes,
Up the street.
I mean, the local bank
Yeah.
was best on another project, so.
Yeah, the public safety building is through Northway.
Right.
Yeah. They gave us great
Camden.
rates. Yeah. What's that?
It's Camden,
International.
Camden National now.
Is that what they are now?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
It's hard to
Yeah.
keep up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't keep,
We also have some that are financed through DES.
yeah,
So just paid that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, so, multiple.
Sure.
Mhm.
I don't know, just the other thing that, when this comes up, that I always think about the fact is, we also talked about the fact that there's really no section in here, so
Oh.
the two things, waste, solid waste, and road department used to be one department, now they've been split.
Yeah.
This really focuses on roads, so we're working with Chuck to kind of beef that up next year, that'll be a bigger section. The
Yeah,
other thing we've identified is that there's really nothing in here about long-term needs of the building.
yeah,
And at some point, the public safety building, this building gonna need a new roof, that's something we should be
Right.
planning for now, and so we're looking to add that in next year. So
That's right.
this report's gonna get even longer next year.
yeah. More comprehensive.
More, thank you, I like your thinking.
I have my politician hat on tonight.
I need to borrow that.
But it's the same idea, is that if you know it's coming and you don't plan for it, you're setting yourself up for surprises. If you
Yeah.
plan for it.
Yeah, also for the parks, along with buildings and parks,
Yes.
yeah, sort of.
The safety building they're talking about, new roof, like 10 years from now?
Hopefully
At
longer.
least, yeah.
Hopefully
Okay,
longer.
all right,
Yeah.
okay.
And I've said this before, I'll tell you, I've done a 180 on this whole. When I first was on budget committee, I was dead set against capital reserve funds because I felt like,
Well, that's interesting.
well, I
Oh, yeah.
felt like you were being taxed for something that you may have take no advantage of if you're not in town 10 years, 10 years down the road. And, I have seen where other towns and where Bristol has done a better job of it. I've turned 180 on that. I think it's a great
Yeah.
idea, and I told my wife it's possible I was wrong. And she said, but I may be mistaken. But no, I think given the right explanation and seeing the impact and long-term impact, and I think it really came in, we saw a couple of years where like we had to buy a new loader and a new highway truck, because something happened, and we
Yeah,
had to buy, various, so you had to go, and I'm buying, why are we buying it? It wasn't a grader, because that thing's like 40 years old, but
mm,
why are we buying a new loader and a truck in the same year? Loader died, we need to,
Yeah.
and we need a truck, so what are we gonna do, right? So,
'cause,
having that planned replacement has, I think, saved the taxpayers from those, you still spend the same money, but you do it more evenly so that you don't see huge fluctuations.
and, some people say, oh, you don't get any interest. It's like, you actually get a lot of interest, because instead of paying interest on a loan or a lease purchase, you may not get interest put into that savings account,
Right.
but you're saving all the interest you would have paid,
Absolutely.
borrowing the money,
Yeah.
saving it rather than borrowing.
The other thing I would actually say about that is obviously being very new to the process, the departments have done a really good job of understanding what their replacement cycles are, right? So
Yeah, this helps with that.
yeah, it makes them think about
That
their
was,
assets.
that was the point I was gonna make, is
Yeah.
you commented, and it's true, that if something unexpected happens, you need to do it, you have the ability. But the other thing is that it also gives the town and the department heads the option to say, well, I don't have to commit that I'm gonna say, I want money in this budget this year to
Right.
do it, because then you get there and you say, oh, it's not, I can stretch that out another year.
Yeah,
If
Right.
you were committed, you'd have to go and buy the new because the funding will lapse. Now you can just say it's in a capital reserve fund, I'll wait
And
8 months to buy it, because I can squeeze another time out of this old piece of equipment.
Not only that, but it gives us the flexibility, the department has the flexibility to look for, take advantage of opportunities.
Yep.
Right? Because if every town is gonna buy a police car every March, there's not a lot of negotiation there, right?
Right.
But if something becomes available throughout the year, you have that in the fund, we're agents to expend, we can do that and save money. We've done that. You know, we've been able to work with a local partner in looking at, you know, pieces of equipment for, very smaller pieces of equipment for highway that can be purchased, you know, at auction for significant savings, rather than having to go through a dealer. You might have a little repair cost, but it's still better than having to spend a couple $100,000 at the, you know, at the dealer.
All right, any questions? Anyone else have a question or a comment on the capital improvement plan? Go ahead, you can skedaddle if you want.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Before you guys leave, I guess the other thing that I don't know if you've got any ideas, my concern is that we can do a good job and we can do great things, and the town of Bristol can come up with a good budget, but the school district is building new buildings and the county's building a new county courthouse, and I don't know what the state's doing with the SWEPT, but taxpayers are not gonna be happy because we've gotta collect all 4 of those segments.
I'm just gonna say, we're always the bad guys, because we gotta play tax collector for all of those. I always felt like you should have to write separate checks.
I like your thinking, but RSAs don't call for that.
You know, the county thing is, I'm speaking for myself, you know, it's a big number, but spread over the county, it's not huge, it's not really a market increase in the county cost, although I don't like it. The school is, it's a giant question mark for us. We don't know where that's gonna land. We think there'd be significant savings, but when you look at it, there really isn't in the district after the divorce, and so that's the big thing hanging over us, you know, at the moment.
Well, I would say, like, when it comes to the budget, I think, and we talked about this a little bit the other night, I think transparency is very key in this entire process. One of the things I'm trying to do with the budget as it sits today is take the various line items. This is probably in there's like 4 or 5 that really relate to highway. And, you know, the way I see it in the presentation is we have a summary line for highway, which then equates to a percentage of the overall piece, right? So you could create for lack of a better term, like an example home, $10,000 in taxes. That means this much of that 10,000 goes to highway. This much goes to police, this much goes to schools, this much goes to, and you can kind of break it out for folks. So then that way you can see tangibly and go, okay, I feel good about those services, because it really does come down to what services does everybody want to have? And then now you know that service costs X, because I think, you know, was it between police and fire, there's like $3 million or so in this budget, right? Well, as a community, we overwhelmingly said that those are the things that we want to support, right? But you're right, when it comes down to it, people, they want to feel like they have input and control and an ability to influence the process. So I don't think you can do that unless there's a level of transparency and in some cases, probably some good summarization, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, I think the school system will have the pressure on them when the tax rate is released, because going from 7 towns to 4 towns, but yet a school budget that has increased, you know, their portion of the overall tax rate will, I mean, right now the town and the school is even, but the school's portion is gonna go up significantly over the towns.
So listen, for me, I said it to the superintendent the other night, I think we have to dig in harder with them on this. This is John speaking personally, okay? Primary responsibility, we have to provide a good education for the kids, period, full stop. Like, that is not an option. However, we have a tax cap in town. if you were able to calculate out, you had 7 schools, 7 districts, 7 towns in it before, now you have 4. If you're able to do the calculation, it should be the calculation plus the tax cap brings you to a number. Okay, if that isn't how we get to the number, because I don't think right now they still don't know how they're getting to the number. If that isn't how we get to the number, then we need to sort of go back and forth so we understand it, because otherwise, people are ignoring the tax cap that the community has voted into place.
Well, I'll come back to what you said before. I think it comes down to being transparent and open, and I don't completely understand either, so that makes me nervous, so.
Yeah, listen, I think it makes everybody nervous, right? Like, I don't,
Oh, yeah, I'm not unique.
right? I mean, it makes me nervous, but again, I don't, it's not,
But
it becomes a thing. Yeah, go ahead, Sean, sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, but again, it comes back to the town. The town still has to function regardless of what the school district does, right?
Oh, correct, yeah, that does.
Oh, yeah.
And for a lot of years, we didn't do things that should have been done because we had to absorb there was a $1 increase, I remember, one year. And we tried to come in at a somewhat level budget, but absorb, that kind of increase. And so, and I'm not here to demonize the school district. They're in a tough spot.
Mhm.
They're in a really tough spot for various reasons, but I hate to say at the end of the day, because I hate that saying, but at the end of the day, we still have a budget ourselves, and
Yep.
yes, we have to be wary and mindful of what the total overall picture is, but we still have a town to run.
Yeah, I think the other point ends up being is, we almost have 2 very different kinds of activities that go on around here, right? We have our 3,000 residents year-round-ish, and then we balloon to between 7,000 and 9,000 in the summertime, right? So like, we have to acknowledge that our primary economy driver for a town really is that vacation, right? Like, so how are we supporting that in order to continue to maintain the town, but then also have an environment that the kids can go through school and they don't feel like they gotta leave Dodge,
Yeah.
right? Like that is something that I think we all are concerned with, trying to figure out how do we make sure that it's affordable, right? And it doesn't come without a few scraped knees, so to speak, right? Like, we're all gonna have to get it, anyway.
I'm not quite sure what you're saying as far as leave Dodge, what do you mean?
So like if a kid, so something that bothers me personally is thinking about a kid that goes through our school system, grows up here in Bristol, comes out, and then there is not enough work here
Yeah, yeah.
for them to stay here,
Or a
to
house
live
that
here,
they can
Or they
afford.
can't
Or a job
Right.
that will allow them to afford to
Right.
live there.
right? Like, that just personally bothers me, because this is a beautiful place, and if we don't keep that in mind when we think about our services, or, sort of to the point that you were just making about the other communities a minute ago, right? So we're a 3,000 person year-round community. So when we think about the services that we want to provide, okay, what are the comparisons? So why do we need, whatever it is, why do you need it, and then is it similar to others? Because we're not totally unique, right? Like, I think that's the thing sometimes, it's easy to have that conversation about why we're a snowflake in some of the conversations, but we're really not. So what can we learn from some of these other pieces? That's what I'm trying to have us do when we look at any individual line item or anything. Okay, well, why is that the right thing? So, anyway. There you go. Hopefully that was more articulate.
Any other questions before we, I ask you guys to stay for a little longer at home? I think that's what I wanted to talk about.
No, but I was just thinking when you were talking about the school district, is last year they tried to have the cap removed. That was one of the things that they wanted to do, and the other one was to raise the cap an enormous amount. That failed, so the only thing you can hope for is that, I'm sure they're gonna try it again, that it would just fail again.
So I guess I kind of want to, if you don't mind, I want to just say one thing about that, because I think a lot of people feel that way,
Yeah,
right? They're clearly feeling pressure on that side around how do they run the thing? How do they afford all of the pieces,
yeah.
right? In order to provide the education they believe they need to have to provide. Bottom line is, it comes back to, these are the rules of the road, right? That's why the math and how they get there, I think sometimes we focus too much on the actual number. Oh my God, that's too much. Okay, it might be, it might not be. But if we strive to agree on the process that got them there, or got us there, right, whether it's one of our departments or the school board, then I think we all then have a better understanding around where we actually have levers. Otherwise, everybody starts arguing over, okay, do you need that much Windex? You know what I mean? And then, you know, you're arguing about $20 that got moved from pocket left to pocket right. You know, like that's, I really do believe it's about the process that's used to derive the number. They teach math, so they should be able to do it.
Yeah, you would think so, but.
Well, I also feel like there's a lot of, it's us versus them.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
not.
the case. This is our community, these are
Yeah.
our kids.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are gonna take care of us as we get older, we want to invest in them.
Of course we do.
The other thing about the tax cap is, and I think most people don't understand, is it doesn't limit their budget to a 2.5% increase. It limits the amount they can raise from taxation per year.
Mhm.
So if they have other funding sources, their budget can go up accordingly.
Right.
So I think when people see the number, and I think
Well,
most.
they're automatically thinking the taxes are going up, so that's
Right.
like the first thought. The
Right.
thing, they can do funding things, they can work hard. I have yet to see any students, I can remember years ago, or whatever, you're seeing students do fundraisers all over the place. We tried to offer that or see what we could do with the craft fair and see if you could set up a booth and start selling, the things to, candy bars and all this other stuff. I rarely see that stuff around Bristol. I don't see it.
Now they sell a bed and mattress for
Yeah. Yeah.
Just back.
Yeah. But there used to be a lot
Still
of
not getting a good
fundraisers.
night's sleep, Sean?
It hasn't come yet. It hasn't come yet. I haven't got a good night's sleep thinking about it.
Yeah.
There are rules governing how much and how often they fundraise.
Yeah.
There are, but that's where I'd start. Some of the rules need to be changed. I mean, I think that there are certain things that you could do. And when you're talking about a budget, when you do anything in any business or anything like that, you're going, what can I get? Need versus, want versus need.
Yeah.
You're gonna cut what you don't need. They have a lot of, how do you say it, special needs students that, that's a huge problem because you have all these people that are coming in. And I know one person in particular who's like in her 80s, just went back full-time to teaching. Why? Why would you go back to teaching full-time? Because they need her, to come back in. But there's extra money that's being spent.
Yeah.
And you gotta figure out why. So there's a lot of things that can be done beyond that,
I think this is one of those topics where everybody, like, listen, I mean, we could all go down the rabbit hole and go, wait,
Yeah.
I wish we did it this way, that way, the other way.
Right.
But that's kind of why, from my perspective, if we come back to, in particular for the budget, we come back to how we're deriving it.
Yeah,
Because that's where the discussion has to happen,
yeah.
right? Like, and Les, you're absolutely right. Like, we're in this together. Like, it doesn't help us if we have this rift where there's no conversation around how that something happens over there. But at the same time, it's gotta be both ways. Like,
It does.
it only works when we're all going, okay, here's how we're gonna get this done.
Well, I'd say a couple of things. One, the special ed, from someone with folks in their house who deal with that. You tomorrow could get a student that's gonna cost you $200,000 a year that you didn't budget for.
No
Right.
control.
That's hard.
Mhm.
That's really hard. On the other hand, believe it or not, I give this administration great credit, and even the last administration to a degree. It's worlds better than it used to be. In my personal opinion, in terms of attitudes towards the town, I think I think it's much better than it was 10 years ago, much, much better. You can argue all day about what things cost, how much it should cost for this or that, but it's gotten a lot better. There were some pretty contentious attitudes on both sides,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
Well, and you have a person at the helm that is all about community.
and is from the community.
Right. So it
Been here
makes a
for
big
almost
difference.
20 years, and worked his way up through, and I think I'm a big supporter of his. I hope he does well. And I think we've seen that as a board. We've seen little things like before we would ask for something, and it was always, no, we're not going to do that, And now it's, hey, can we use your building to vote? Yeah, let us figure it out.
Yeah.
All right. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's huge. When you're writing that check every month for $500,000, $450,000 every month.
550.
$550,000, thank you.
Every month.
Yeah,
It's painful.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the town, based on my observations, done an excellent job in putting the information out on the reevaluation. I followed the website, and I think it's been very informative if a person is interested in understanding it.
I was beating on Christina about a year ago. The day one I started in March to.
You did actually.
Yeah.
I think it was like the first, you were like, listen, we gotta get in front of this.
Yeah.
And I looked at you and like, really?
Yeah, Joanne did a really good job, and then in this last few weeks, we really tried to push more out because
Right.
we knew where the numbers were. We saw the preliminary before everybody else did. We're like, oh no. Put them all out quickly, as much as we could.
With that, that's a plus.
Yeah.
And that goes back to what the gentleman said about being transparent and put the information out there.
Yeah.
Has there been any misunderstanding from folks that are property owners?
Yeah,
Yes.
you get comments like, well, they have to pay for the safety building one way or another, or, oh, look, there's all this extra money. And I try to remind people that we can't spend $1 more than what was authorized at the last town meeting, right? So
Yep.
whether your tax rate is $22 or $11,
Right.
now, your house may go up more than your neighbor's because you did something to it, or
Yeah.
this neighborhood was undervalued more than the neighborhood next to it.
Yeah.
And so then, yeah, that neighborhood's gonna go up more than this neighborhood. And that's the thing I think people have a hard time understanding, or like, it wasn't as dramatic this time as it was 5 years ago in terms of the difference between the Lake District and the town in general. The last time we did it, the Lake District was undervalued significantly more than the rest of the town.
Yeah.
What that means is that the rest of the town was actually making up and subsidizing for that lower value. People don't want to hear that when they have a $20,000 tax bill. I get it, but that was the case. This year it was a lot closer. It was still a little bit, but it was a lot closer.
Yeah, it was 18% increase on the lake last time,
Yeah.
just mainly the lake.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you guys, unfortunately, you're gonna be sort of the direct line because tax rate is
We're
associated.
spear catchers for sure, yeah.
Right, and, many people, I don't wanna say most people, many people don't understand how the components go together.
Right.
But I think we in the room here understand that a driver that will come at you will be the component from the school district disproportionately because of the, you use the word divorce and everything. So I wish you the best.
Appreciate that. It's always it probably shouldn't be, but it's always an eye opener. I can point to a couple of conversations over the last couple of years, one with just a friend, local resident, we don't need this, you need to reduce the school, you need to reduce this. I'm like, we have no control, less than half of the bill that you pay,
People need to go, I mean, at the end of the day, if they feel that way,
Yeah,
they need to go to the school
another-
deliberative session
Exactly.
and actually vote.
another person who was actually running for a position was, didn't understand that didn't understand what town meeting was, didn't understand that, you know, that we don't have any control over the school or or the county or the, you know, or any of that. And, you know, I always tell people, New Hampshire municipal budget is so weird. It's like you spend a quarter of your budget before you approve it. That's strange, right? That's very strange, which is why we've talked about, you know, trying to get on a fiscal year situation, but, yeah, it's, and the town spends, you know, 5 months,
Oh, yeah.
5 months, trying to figure out what's gonna spend the next
Right.
12, next 17 months, you know, after that. So it's a convoluted process, but that's what we have.
One
It's
of my
great.
biggest things is when I first started, you know, paying attention to the town and stuff like that, is I couldn't understand why there was only one town meeting. Why is that? Why can't you, when something comes up and you have issues, why can't you have a town meeting? And
It's like an act of Congress to do.
yeah, exactly. It's like I said, well, wait a minute,
Even
why is
moving
that?
it for a snowstorm was an act of.
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
so
You literally
crazy.
have to get a court order to.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
Yeah, and we've done that. I mean, the school district went through that process, but we did it when.
This building.
This building,
Right,
yeah, we did.
right. We petitioned for a
Special
vote,
meeting.
a special meeting, yeah.
We did it once before when we were in the other building.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was for, but I remember doing it.
The
Yeah, I
park,
remember. What was it for?
the park, Mill Street.
Oh, to purchase Mill Street?
That's
Yeah.
right, that's right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. You know, we used to have a Summertown meeting for
Yes.
Informational,
you know,
informational.
informational meeting. It wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, no official business, but it got to the point where there were more town employees there than by more than, you know, by double than there were people coming to hear things.
I was gonna say, I think the last one, there were 2 people from the public, everybody else was staff. So, cause we all,
They got their taxes worth that day.
we all have to be there, so.
Yeah.
You know, another thing I think that is just generically interesting about when I think about the entire budget is when you look at our demographics and you consider the age groupings in town, and then you consider the services related to each group, right? You can almost, again, when you do the summary, you can bucketize it that way too,
Yeah,
right?
state.
So, anyway.
Going back to that point, you know, the Summertown, the other part of that is, you know, the town has done a good job of taking advantage of the tools that it has just in this information age and getting more stuff out there. We have so much more than we had.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Even a dozen years ago when I first started doing this, for people to be involved, you know, and have that information, where, you know, it's all out there, you know, budget, the line items, everything is out there if someone wants it. And I think that's helped a lot too.
I think the gentleman hit on it, it's the demographics.
Yeah.
If you look at Lincoln, okay,
Yeah.
which is a town which
We've had a lot of talks about Lincoln of late.
lived up there for a couple of years.
I've quoted you a few times, don't worry.
Yeah, and the other town, actually, Campton and Thornton, with the Owl's Nest Resort, both the tourist community for Lincoln and Owl's Nest, they don't put any children into the school system.
Right.
But they expand the tax base.
Right.
That's something that is a little harder in this demographic.
It is, and we've talked quite a lot about how do we change that? What businesses do we try to attract? Even looking at what areas of town are available for something, you know, something like that. And that was one of our takeaways from the goal setting session that we had, as well as other things. But yeah, that's, you know, ideally you'd have, you know, I've always said we need another manufacturer in town, someone, you know, 30 to 40 jobs of, you know, but where and who and what, and, you know, kind of somewhat limited available space for something like that.
Right, but the nice thing about what I've learned in Bristol, unlike what I've experienced in Lincoln, Lincoln has changed so dramatically that the folks that were there originally, their children have to move out because they can't afford to live there.
Yeah.
And the composition of the town is now, it's now a new town. It's just still called Lincoln, but it's a new town.
Yeah.
And Bristol doesn't have that issue, because there's still a community feeling here. It's, you can't have
We're
both.
certainly on the cusp though, like that's, I think, a challenge, because
Yeah,
like,
it's a real challenge.
the median house is, like over 400,000, right? So if the median house is over 400,000, it's you gotta make $100,000 a year to afford that house. Right, so, to me, the housing problem is actually much more related to the schools, because it's really how are we channeling and preparing people in this community, whether it's adult or the kids coming out of high school, like how are we making sure that they're ready for the jobs that are today? Not that, okay, well, we've always had this type of job, like, no, what else can we avail ourselves of in all of this? To me, this is the piece that we sort of skirt around, like we worry about the housing, we gotta make housing more affordable. Okay, are you suggesting we have to depress housing? You know what I mean? Like, it becomes a whole conversation. Do you depress housing costs? Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Everybody wants to make housing more affordable, but no one wants to add inventory.
Right. Anyway, so just, it becomes that scenario. So to me, it's really about like the whole training and how all of those pieces come together. The library, right? Like how does the library fit into that from an adult education perspective? Like what programs can be offered to sort of upskill the folks that are around here? Anyway.
Do we know where the school stands in proficiency through the nationwide? Do we know where our school?
I don't
There,
know.
actually, just a week or so ago, there was a release, you may want to follow up on that, but I won't have the numbers right, but they were,
The scores were up.
better than
Where they
last
are, okay,
year.
because they've been down, I just.
They were
wanted
better
to-
than last year, and they were above state average.
Oh, that's good.
Well, that's good.
Because that's in a draw, when you're talking about people coming to the thing, they need to have schools that are up there.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing from a business
Businesses.
perspective is who do you hire, right? Like,
Right.
okay, you convince somebody to bring their business here. Then it's gonna be, okay, well, what does the skill set of the community look like in order to support that business? It is a chicken and egg thing in so many ways. That's why the partnership with the schools and stuff is really important around how are we preparing everybody for the jobs that are around here. And also, it's equally important to pay attention to the state and how the state is where they're trying to put different businesses in the state, right? So their whole Bureau of Economic Affairs, I mean, you can see it, they post things all the time, where, we opened up this manufacturer in Manchester, and we did this other one in Concord, and this other one in Portsmouth. Okay, that's all great, and we can commute to Concord, because that's not that far. But like, what do they expect to happen in this swath of the state? That's an outstanding question for me, and one I'm trying to have the Economic Development Committee work on. Anyway.
I commuted to Concord for 17 years, so it's,
Yeah, I mean,
Every
it's
day, yeah.
doable,
It's
but,
doable. Yeah.
but nonetheless, like, when they're thinking about economic activities at a state level, they've got ideas.
Right.
I think we need to not only have a groundswell of things that we're trying to do as a community, but understanding what those forces are, so we're not pushing a rock uphill.
All right, thank you.
There you go. You guys got more than you asked for.
Thank you, guys.
Well, no, I asked you to stay,
All problems
so.
are solved then?
Yeah.
This is great.
Thank you for coming.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Have a fun meeting.
Thanks. I think we just have a few things
think we're done.
to run through, just real quick. So we already did minutes, we've already done our correspondence, no one else has more correspondence, right? Christina does, what do you have?
CASA has sent a thank you to, on behalf of all of us at CASA, I want to extend our deepest thanks to the town of Bristol for your generous $500 donation, so that's for the 2025, that they
Yep.
just,
Yep, and thanking us for the funding
Yeah.
for this year.
and they just send a letter, so.
Okay.
Nice.
Thank you. comments? Any, just got an update, this is anything else from the select board, right? Anything for you personally?
No.
Okay. Buzz, anything you wanted to?
I want Sean to stick around after the meeting.
Okay.
I've been avoiding you.
Gus,
Buzz.
anything?
I don't have anything else.
So, I don't have anything else for. Okay, Christine, anything you wanted to, bring up?
I don't think so, was there?
So our next meeting is next Tuesday. So Tuesday, 28th of October here at 6 o'clock for a general discussion about what we're gonna do with this budget. Motion to adjourn?
So
I-
moved.
So, motion by Sue,
Yeah?
seconded by, I think, Les?
No,
Oh,
Scott.
Scott, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening.
I said aye.